Have you seen anyone that has tried this and it has actually fractured their relationship? Because I would imagine that there is some where they try to bring it up, but I suppose that relationship was doomed to fail anyhow. I mean, if you can you give some examples from people that have went this direction and it just has totally torpedoed their relationship?
So I have a client right now that did exactly what I was talking about earlier. When their relationship was failing, they decided to open it up. And by the way, you used a term early in this conversation that I want to open marriage is also like kind of a general term, kind of like ethical non-monogamy is.
Right.
So they decided to open up their relationship. Well, they didn't really know much about it, which a lot of people don't, but also they were not in a safe and secure relationship. So exactly what happened is that they did eventually get a divorce, but they're both kind of sitting in a space now that are like, I think we did something wrong. And so they say they're divorced on paper, but that they are considering getting back together. But there are some things that are left over. I mean, they have a lot of things to heal in their relationship itself, and a couple of things that happened in the point when they opened up.
Mm.
So going to someone like me, a coach who's familiar with non-monogamy, is helpful because what a lot of people, if they're not familiar with non-monogamy and you try to go to a coach or a therapist who is not at all familiar with it, and I would say more and more therapists are at least friendly to the idea, but still, if they don't know anything about it, they'll be like, oh, well, non-monogamy ruined your marriage. That's not true because their marriage was failing before they even tried non-monogamy. So
Well,
that's one of those. Well, that's one of those scenarios. Do
hold
I
on.
have
I
any?
I I, I want to take a bit of umbrage with that one because
Yeah.
that one is tough because I'm sure there are examples that's totally accurate where it's the relationship was already fractured or toxic or whatever, and like we said before, they were just trying this anyhow. But there also has to be examples where the relationship was good but not great. They're having issues, and instead of actually, let's say, going to couples therapy and learning better communication to make that relationship stronger, they went in the direction of ethical non-monogamy, and that ended up ruining the relationship. Like I
Mhm.
mean, there has to be those
For
examples
sure,
as
there
well.
are those relationships. I mean, for sure. I'm not suggesting they're not. I don't have any clients that have been in that particular process. I think because they settled it in their own ways.
Right.
So I right now don't have anyone. Do I know people in the lifestyle that, were married to someone else and then that relationship broke up and now they're with other people? Yes. I don't know anything about the specifics about their situation, so I can't really speak to all the situations. But what I do know is that ethical non monogamy has kind of gotten this bad rap because of the other scenario that I'm talking about. Because
Mm.
plenty of people, and I actually just had somebody on one of my webinars the other day. His relationship did end. His wife ended up with somebody else, and he's still wanting to practice non monogamy. And he will say himself, it wasn't non monogamy that ruined our relationship. It
Right.
was these weaknesses of our relationship that, yes, got highlighted. And then she met somebody else and whatever. But I, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. And I'm not trying to sound defensive. I just think that we have an extra bad rap for that scenario, which doesn't happen nearly as much as people think.
Right. That's fair. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight it. Yeah, it seemed like, oh, it's never ethical non-monogamy's fault. So I appreciate the differentiation, because I think that's the hardest part about these lifestyles that are outside. We'll call it the norm, the
Mm-hmm.
heteronormative
Mm-hmm.
monogamous relationships.
Yep.
I think this is about us listening to ourselves more